Hello and welcome to episode 22 of the unofficial SAP on Azure video podcast. Today is December 17th, and together with Robert and Goran, we are here to talk about anything related to SAP on Azure. Hello, everyone.
Hi.
In today's episode, we have a very special guest, Jürgen Thomas. And together with him, we want to look back at 2020 and also glimpse at what will come in 2021. So, Jürgen, you've been working in the SAP area at Microsoft for a very long time, starting way before Azure. Can you introduce yourself and maybe talk a little about your history, and also with SQL Server you worked a lot, so maybe you can just introduce yourself.
Sure I can. Yeah, my name's Jürgen Thomas. You hear it on my accent. I'm certainly not a native English speaker. Did not grow up in native English speaking countries. I'm born in Germany, spent more than 30 years in Germany, joining Microsoft in January 96 in Germany as well. Was sent to SAP headquarters in February 96 to support SAP customers running SAP R3 on SQL Server, of which we had at that point in time probably a dozen or two. So was right at the beginning of R3 running on SQL Server. Also not that many Windows customers around at that point in time. In April 98, I moved into the United States, joining the SQL Server development team, still representing SAP as a workload, SAP as a customer in the SQL Server development. Over the course of the years, we built up a team that is working around the SAP workload, with SAP workload on the Microsoft platform. So the focus was not only SQL Server, it expanded into Windows, it expanded into Windows Private Cloud or Hyper-V Private Cloud. And as natural, as things went, as technology developed, as Microsoft changed, we certainly picked up the topic of Azure as well, which meanwhile is very successful, quite successful. That doesn't mean that we disregard SQL Server. We still have SQL Server knowledge in the team, expertise in the team, also do have still certain responsibilities around SQL Server and the SAP workload. Same is true for Windows. Despite that fact, we expanded deeply in expertise into Linux and into HANA and Azure, which is certainly from when we look at the team that I'm leading, that probably occupies the Azure topic, that probably occupies 70 to 80%, a good 80% probably of our workforce in the team. So yeah, it developed over time. Was nearly 25 years now with Microsoft, and really amazing to see how things changed. How we as Microsoft became a component and a very important partner for customers running SAP workload. Meanwhile, not only in the platform, not only in the infrastructure, but also in the integrations, on the higher level integrations with SAP, when we look at the Office, when we look at Teams and other things. So really a great ride so far. I mean, and exciting, more exciting than ever.
Yeah. I mean, just translated, Jürgen Thomas is Santa Claus of SAP on Microsoft and SAP on Azure, you know. So we announced a special guest, and somebody asked, would there be a Santa Claus? And I said, yeah, that's a good word, you know, for here.
It's going in that direction.
That's probably my white beard.
Exactly.
Santa Claus aspect.
But Jürgen, you also have a basically part of the team sitting in Redmond, and part of the team sitting in Walldorf, or in the SAP headquarters in Walldorf, right? Yeah.
That is true, yes. So the team is split globally a little bit. There's a part of the team sitting in the US, I need to say, because not all the people that we have in the US are sitting with me in the Redmond headquarters of Microsoft. We have even over in Europe, in Germany, we have not everybody sitting in the SAP headquarters. We have people in Zurich as well, in Cologne, one person. We also do have an APAC representative with Cameron, who is located in Singapore. So yeah, we have the team is globally split, has its own kind of challenges with it, but also huge advantages, and that's why we want to keep it that way.
I think, I mean, especially this sitting together with SAP in Redmond, for example, I think that is pretty unique. And I mean, you said in the beginning, you joined Microsoft, but then you immediately started working at SAP, and I think that also really shows. I mean, this is now over 20 years that you and your team have been working very, very closely together with SAP.
Absolutely, and then the other aspect is SAP as well as a team here with me in Redmond. There are 4 people of SAP sitting with us here as well. So that the deep integration, that this is not the case like since yesterday or since we started Azure. The team that SAP has here in Redmond got established in 1996 already. So that also is a long history of that team. And actually, there are still 2 team members in that team that were originally hired from SAP into these positions 25 years ago or 24 years ago. So yeah, there's a deep integration between the companies. On the one side, us having people build up a team over in the SAP headquarters, and on the other side, SAP already starting in '96, building a team up here that is still here, even with 2 members of the origin team. So that's really remarkable.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Absolutely, yeah. As mentioned, awesome, right? And more exciting than ever. I mean, with public cloud and Azure, we change a lot right now, and it's super exciting.
So it's not your father's Microsoft, how they would say,
No,
not only SAP on Windows and SAP on SQL Server. It's kind of you name it, we have it. Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's far more. It's far more now. Yeah.
Cool. So I think one thing that is also really interesting, really special, your wife also works at Microsoft, which is okay. I think a lot of how do you say, married couples work at the same company. But I think the interesting thing in your case is that she's working in a department that actually has to use what you are creating.
Yes.
So,
yeah, this story is interesting in a sense because she was an SAP employee in Microsoft in Walldorf before, so that's where we met like 20 years ago. And actually, she was there in a department that I was working with, the advanced technology group in SAP. And so that's where we met. And since I was settled here, and decisions were made, and the decision was that she would come over. And she started as a basis administrator in our basis team, became basis team lead, that position that she held for quite a few years before transferring or transitioning into an architect role, SAP basis architect role that she still has today. So yes, for the last 17 years, we are creating, and she's consuming or consuming with her team, which is very interesting. We are still married. That's still happily married. So that's good. Seems that we created something that is usable, and I didn't get beaten up every evening. No, but the relationship, it works out very well, and it was very fruitful as well for us, or is still fruitful for us, because we are getting excellent feedback from that team. I mean, think about Microsoft. We have a large SAP real estate. We are looking into, I don't know, is it 13, 14 different SAP applications that we have in production. Mostly NetWeaver. Obviously, the obvious ones are clearly you have some BW, you have some global trade services, you have some MDG, you have conversion charging, you have supply chain management. So quite a selection of products that we have here from SAP, NetWeaver based. And at the moment, most of them, one needs to say, are still running on SQL Server. And we started in the year 2016 already with that with our internal teams, to really move first SAP systems, development systems into Azure. and non-production systems. What was a big blocker up for quite a while was simply the size of our business suite, the size or the resource consumption that the database has in our business suite, in terms of resource consumption, in terms of CPU that we need, memory that we need. So up into the year 2018, where we in 2018 finally had our M-series VMs qualified for SAP NetWeaver workload, had the M-series VMs channel available. Our IT was pretty blocked in regards to the largest production system of our business suite that has a close conglomerate or needs a close communication with the global trade system and the supply chain management systems. So we were tied a little bit to on-premise. Otherwise, our folks around our basis team, our whole community, user community, would have liked to move faster into Azure. But as the M-series came out, subsequently we moved the systems up, and they are on Azure now for, I think, complete SAP landscape for more than 2 years. No doubt about, beyond my wife and I talking in the evening, we have regular sessions with our folks that run these systems. We are available for them for recommendations all the time. So that's super. I mean, that's an awesome experience, and really gets us awesome background and feedback, and that we can use then out of my team and into to really structure the products and get new functionalities into the products, prioritize product development as well, to get functionality that suits running and operating SAP systems in Azure.
Mm-hmm. Because I think, like you said, I mean, Microsoft is not a small SAP customer.
No, by far not. I mean, by far not. One should not underestimate the landscape that we have here. I mean, it's a quite sizable thing. Whole Microsoft's business runs through that system, so it's the financials, everything. I mean,
we bet on Azure, so I mean, such a huge criticality. I mean, 1 minute or an hour of downtime was like kind of millions, or could be even a billion if Microsoft would have it. So it's not a joke. It's not a dev test system. So,
it's like in many companies, SAP, the SAP NetWeaver platform, or now S/4HANA platform. Also need to say, no doubt about, we are investing into S/4HANA as well. There are projects running. So it's now basically a dual thing as well. Besides 100 plus SAP systems that are running NetWeaver SQL Server, there are already more than 2,000 S/4HANA systems out there that we are running as well. Certainly an interesting aspect then transitioning into Linux. At least for the database server, we certainly keep the application layer on Windows. That's a configuration and architecture that's supported by SAP and runs splendidly as well. But nevertheless, I mean, HANA or the database is always a critical part. So you better understand what the operating system's doing, what you operate on the operating system. So we did. Our team, our internal teams are ramping up, our basis teams ramping up on Linux knowledge quite well. A lot of IP that they developed as well that I want to get hands-on to publish as well. So that's one thing where we need to improve a little bit, especially around pacemaker operations and so on. So I hope that within the next half year I get that IP and can publish that IP with the help of our basis folks.
But I think for me that is really one of the most exciting things or interesting things that really the journey that Microsoft IT or whatever it's called now went through, like what you said, learning Linux for the very first time, learning HANA. I mean, if we look out there to other customers, obviously no one has HANA experience. They come from SQL, they come from DB2, they come from Oracle, and now all of a sudden they have to learn HANA, they have to learn Linux. They have to deal with something like Pacemaker for the very first time. And that's exactly the process that the SAP Basis team at Microsoft also had to went through.
Yeah.
So
Absolutely. I mean, there's no wavering or something like that. Or we are not getting an easy way out of it because we are Microsoft. We are just another SAP customer related to that, and so decisions were made for a certain Linux distribution, and we then, admittingly, we also then asked that, or we paid some consultants of that Linux distribution to be here and to do an initial jump start, really educational sessions, especially then also around pacemaker. And from there on, the team is went ahead pretty well. And yeah, it is a challenge. It certainly is a challenge, and also running many different databases.
Yeah.
It is, especially with SQL Server, which was very hands-off in a sense, and that is not exactly the case on the HANA side, isn't it? So there is a little bit more involvement on the HANA side in terms of administration than we were used with SQL Server.
So the tools. So we had Tobias Niekamp on the show before. He talked about the Azure Monitor and also the Pacemaker Monitor. Or Philipp Leitenbauer was also there, and he talked about the Pacemaker check tool or the check tool in general. I guess a lot of these tools, or similarly, when we look at how to deploy and install an SAP system, which can be a fairly complicated step, I think there you and your team are also very much investing in improving the whole installation experience, providing these Terraform and Ansible scripts and all these tools to simplify the setup in general.
I need to confess that it's not my tool at this point in time that's investing into that. There's another development team, a peer team of mine that is investing into that. Yeah, but from a strategy, it is clear. We from an automation point of view, in the first instance, we want to get these Terraform Ansible modules out that enable customers to install, lay down the infrastructure on Azure that are necessary for SAP systems, and then on top of that, install SAP on them. And it's not only, and it should improve simply the experience by customers. We very well realize there are customer-specific things that a customer wants to do specifically, and that's why we at the moment focus on the Terraform Ansible modules that customers can pick up, that customers can orchestrate and change to a degree at their will and their requirements, because there are often very different requirements when we look into customer requirements that are dictated by by the network configuration. As we look into the bigger picture with customers, one of the things that often shows up that the network or the network configurations, network layouts in Azure are very often dictated by other circumstances, security, and so on, that customers have within their company. So not every layout, every configuration looks the same. Not every policy and that customers do have internally are looking the same when it goes around how do I deploy applications in Azure from a network infrastructure point of view. And so we need to get with the Terraform Ansible modules that we are publishing today in GitHub in an open source project. We need to make sure that these are adaptable to customers, but we already have, on the other hand, that we have profound functionality in there that really helps customers a lot from an installation point of view. On the other hand, we have the Checktools, and Checktools, I think, the Checktools is super important to us, because that is an area where I see most of the potential for us from a support, but also from preventing support, from a preventive analysis, saying, look, your configuration has some issues. Like we had a case with a customer last week where Philipp's tool that grew pretty comprehensive, we used that tool in a performance case, and it immediately spilled out 12 items that were set incorrectly on the Linux operating system, like buffer sizes and network buffer sizes, these kinds of things, which we are pretty sure contributed majorly. These misconfigurations contributed majorly to the performance problem. So that is super important. I mean, that's also very super important simply for those customers that come from Windows and are now going to Linux. And they, admittingly, in the Linux space, they simply there are more knobs and screws to turn and twist. And if you're incomplete in that can have a problem. And so that's why we are investing in that check tool, also pacemaker check tool. Again, compared to the Windows cluster, many more configuration possibilities, which not necessarily is a bad thing, but it's also a thing that needs to be very well under control and needs to be executed very well. And that's where the check tool is going to help, and that's why we are investing into that space as well. Same with Azure Monitor, Azure Monitor for SAP. That's what we want to achieve with it, is that we can basically at the end correlate data that we collect from the infrastructure with data that we are getting from the application, at the moment HANA, at the moment SQL Server, or then having cluster check tool as well, giving us status on the cluster. So we want to correlate things that happen on the infrastructure that we can get up out of Azure Monitor with Azure Monitor for SAP data for individual components of SAP systems. As mentioned, at the moment, we have HANA, we have SQL Server, we have the pacemaker cluster, but there's certainly plans to go further. This is a development that we just started and that we want to continue.
But you would also, I mean, this is all part which helps to speed up the deployment and migration to Azure, to help to prevent the error during the migration and even afterwards, to monitor it. But also you have general management area. Once you are in Azure, you need to manage it. And I know you were working, for example, on SAP LaMa, landscape management integration, and as an example for those customers who will go one step beyond. So what are you doing there, and what are kind of the plans for the future, and how do you see it as a topic?
Yeah, so basically LaMa for us is an important product from SAP that covers the management and the operations part to a degree. And when we look at that part, we often see tasks like cloning systems, like refresh systems, where LaMa does have comprehensive knowledge to do the post cloning, post refresh tasks, which are very complex. I mean, that's a huge area there. Where that also takes quite a bit of time, and if a customer wants to do that themselves, like older customers, do have eventually scripted it all already, have the logic figured out. But for a lot of customers, this is like they don't have the capabilities or the resources to figure that all out. So LaMa as a tool is pretty attractive for that part. For us in Azure, it's attractive as well, or quite a bit. And we saw LaMa requests from customers coming up as the customers ramped up in Azure as well, because LaMa has functionalities where I can automatically refresh system, clone system, and we adapt it deeply into Azure. So from our side, we have development resources out of my team that work with the LaMa development resources. We have a person in my team that helps SAP also in the sales cycle or pre-sales cycle to a degree, and POCs with LaMa on Azure. So plans that we at the moment where we think we need to catch up there with LaMa is a little bit in the Windows space. LaMa as a tool so far did shine very well in terms of the cloning of systems, in terms of refreshing systems quite a bit in the Linux space. So we are working with the LaMa development to catch up a little bit in the Windows space. And the other area that we are focusing that Azure specific is certainly integrating new technologies like ANF, where we are quite down the road a little bit. We also are now looking into cross-region scenarios, how we can implement those in our LaMa, in LaMa, so to speak, refresh or cloning across region boundaries or refreshing across region boundaries, because a lot of customers do have their test system not in a different region than the production system, because the test system or the business regression test system is acting as the DR target as well. And so there we have this regional split between production and non-production systems. And we want to cover that with LaMa as well, especially for the case of Azure. So that's one of the developments that we have already ongoing, and that hopefully then is going into a GA product of LaMa in next year then. So that's a deep investment we have there.
I think you mentioned many stuff which happened actually in this year, but when you will sum up everything and look back at 2020, what you think what we really achieved in 2020 when you look back?
I always I do have usually a little bit more an infrastructure point of view, because that's like that's where my team starts, where we are collaborating a lot with our product, with the teams that we are integrated in. The storage team, where I think ANF we make big advancements there. Sure, we already certified last year, but this year we saw a lot of demand on it. We created new high availability configurations that integrate with ANF. We had the first high availability configuration with shared disk on the Windows side, Azure shared disk. Then from a VM point of view, we worked through several different VM types. What we saw as well is that our MV2 virtual machines really took off. So I'm quite surprised how common they are leveraged. So we are not talking about like, they're like 50 VMs eventually out of that family being used. It is really massive, the demand in that space, and also the utilization and usage in this space. So there are a lot of customers that use 6 terabyte or even 12 terabyte VMs. So that surprised us a little bit. We thought it would be a little bit lesser, but really great for us. Awesome for us. And in also the size of the projects that we have, size in terms of the volume. If you're looking at HANA memory volumes, we have customers that are running S4 HANA scale out in Azure, which is remarkable. So especially out of the retail space, we have some of those customers. This is really remarkable. And then on the HANA large instance side, we shouldn't forget about that. We are really literally the only hyperscale cloud that with the HANA large instance service is able to get you an Optane certified unit with Optane. It's like we're building out the office there with Optane. That's one of the things that we are going to. Well, I mean, we certify, or the certification is still lacking a little bit for those Optane units, despite the fact that we have one already, but we have plans for having way more. You can get way more out of HANA large instances. So purely from the configurations that we are offering, we can offer more. And so that will be one of the big focus areas around HANA large instances, to get these Optane SKUs that are on 8 socket, 12 socket, 16 socket servers, to get those certified with SAP HANA. So this is really a unique thing. where we with our hardware as a service HANA large instances can have a unique capability with supporting Optane there. So that's really I'm proud that we achieved that with one unit this year already. Just today we got the hardware directory changed again, so we now have 8, 12, 16 socket units OLAP certified. So we went through a generation change in the hardware that we are using. So most modern generation Cascade Lake units that we have right now. So we needed to certify them with SAP again, and today the OLAP certification was achieved before. Today, the OLAP certification for those units got published, and so the next one is now taking care of the Optane versions of those things. So that's a pretty good achievement that we had there. As mentioned, also some other areas, high availability configurations where we improved. We have new options as well, and yeah. I'm pretty
basically
happy.
Also the network layer generally and proximity improved on the VM through the proximity placement and HLI basically by bringing them into the Azure itself, Azure data center, making close to the VMs, right? So
exactly. I mean it was a pretty good year, I think. Next year is even more exciting. I mean we will see. There's definitely work going on new VM series. We are expecting, and this is this regular occurring thing which customers can benefit from, is that with every major change on Intel technology or AMD technology as processors suppliers into Azure, changes in the sense that they are getting more throughput per process socket. They are getting more efficient in handling instructions. That we are able to basically improve the price performance ratio, as you saw with going from EV3 to EV4, and that's one of the remarkable things in 2020 as well. We could certify several EV4 sizes for HANA, like the one with the 32, the E20, E32, E48, E64. So we basically can even improve the TCO of for the customer, because like if you go from EV3 to EV4, that's a 35% more throughput for as good as the same price of the EV3 before. So that is a thing that we will continue in next year as well. That's already written on the wall. We already have plans for that. There's a new generation of hardware coming in from Intel that will result into better throughput, more performance, and so on. So that's an exciting thing. And then we are certainly looking into some other areas where we have potential to give customers more performance for the same price, also in the higher end. So yeah. It's pretty exciting to see these things happening.
But this is a bit also forcing the customer and partners who are managing to adopt a kind of cloud way of operating the stuff, and versus the on-premise mentality, right? So maybe you can comment a bit. It's a challenge basically.
No, it's a challenge, because that's a discipline that you, like our SAP basis team here in Microsoft. I mean, that's a new discipline that you kind of need to learn a little bit. I mean, the thing is, so far when you operated, you had a set of hardware that you knew that you could not get rid of for the next few years. And also from a sizing point of view, when you debated new hardware, new infrastructure coming in, might it have been storage, might it have been your servers, you always had in mind, what is my workload going to be in 3 years from now compared to what I have now. That kind of that kind of thinking is in terms of sizing certainly is gone when you move into public cloud or you move into Azure. Unless you are at the bleeding edge, that you have the largest VM that there is, and even then for SAP HANA, we have HANA large instances. Then when you go beyond the 12 terabyte that a VM can handle, but usually when we look at the SAP system, the maturity is somewhere in a range where you have room to grow with our VM sizes, where you're not on the high end. And so what you do now in sizing is you look at what's probably going to happen in the next half year, and then you take a VM that fits into that fits for that workload, and then you'll see as your workload grows in half a year, I can jump to the next higher VM, to the next larger VM. That's certainly something that a lot of teams that are administrated and operated SAP systems are not used yet. The other thing is really, as I just mentioned, we are going from one VM family to the next version of the VM family, EV3 to EV4 that's out right now. And you're getting better throughput. You're getting a better price performance ratio simply, and that is then that's where SAP customers to a degree are not used to, is this continuous kind of questioning yourself. Is my architecture still the most efficient one with what I could do? Is it still the most optimal one from a price performance ratio? This is a discipline that really one needs to learn and one needs to get used to a degree. And then there's certainly this kind of, I wouldn't say conflict, but there's this tension field between, do I get my VMs as a reserved instance, or do I get them on pay-as-you-go, and then do I do a mixture of it? Usually what we see with customers is that they do a mixture of it. Some systems are reserved instances, because it's pretty clear that they are remaining like that, or there is a certain ground demand for a number of cores of that system that you don't go below. But then the rest of it is pay as you go, and there's some freedom to eventually optimize things. And that's like, it's like a thing that you're not naturally used to when you're coming from on premise.
Yeah, I think that's something that Robert is really preaching to customers and partners all the time. That the way how you operate an SAP system in the cloud is different. I mean, there are new things that you need to learn, that there are new things that you need to look after to really efficiently run an SAP system. I mean, there are a lot of things that you don't need to care about anymore because of the way that you have migrated in now to the cloud. But there are now other things, like you said, are there new virtual machine types available? Can I migrate? Can I update? Can I change to new services that are now available as a service on Azure and stuff like that?
Yeah, clearly. I mean, it really is a change, but it's a change for the. I also see it as a change for the positive. I mean, no doubt about it. I mean, I wouldn't consider it being a disadvantage or something like that. An opposite. I mean, as you mentioned, there are functions that are falling away, but there are new functions that eventually raise and show up, but in a positive sense. You can lower the TCO of your systems. That's very important, isn't it?
And get the newest stuff like this, so without waiting.
Exactly. Yeah.
Cool.
Great.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah, as mentioned, will be interesting to see what we can achieve in 2021. We also look into other spaces where you can eventually improve TCO, especially in the cluster space. I think one of the things, if customers are using a lot of different SAP systems, and especially in hoster cases, it's the case. then it's becoming interesting to see where we can improve in the cluster space eventually, so that we can reduce the number of failover clusters that you need. We have multi-site clustering already supported by all the 3 operating systems, meaning Windows, SUSE, and Red Hat. We would like to drive a little bit further down that road and see how we can reduce a little bit more there in terms of VMs. That would lower the TCO quite a bit. Now, given that, I mean, we all know that your impact if one clustering goes down is even larger, but that's kind of this decision that you need to make. But we at least would like to open possibilities there. So that's
so. What do you think when we are talking about those not just legacy systems, but most of them are probably legacy systems? You know, when we are talking about AIX world, do you see that world also coming in one time in the future in the cloud also? In some form, I don't know what.
You mean? You mean just to make sure AIX as an operating system?
Yeah, exactly.
No, I mean, we see that already. I mean, we clearly see that where the proprietary Unix are kind of not are discontinued, let's put it that way, on the customer side, or where the move into cloud is forcing a discontinuation of them. And in most of the cases that we saw so far, customers were willing to step over into the Linux world. I mean, we have like a classical example is here in the US, a huge entertainment company that did that cut as well, purely on AIX and DB2, where they moved over into the Red Hat Linux world and DB2 and moving into Azure. So there's certainly a willingness to do that, and so yeah, that's what we that's doable. We have another large customer case like that where we see that being done as well. We'll see we probably need to see how we can make the hurdle a little bit lesser, build up a ramp. We'll see what we are going to do in the year 2021 around this.
Cool. It sounds like a lot of interesting things will also come in 21.
Yeah, no, it is super interesting, and a lot of the things are really the smaller things. I mean, when you look at it, when we look at the Azure storage, for example, yeah, we do have different storages, ANF being one, premium storage, ultra disk, which are the free storages that usually are in consideration when we look into SAP workload on Azure. But there's a lot of things going on underneath as well that are often not visible. Sure, that storage remains, but performance changes in the software stack to improve the latency of the storage, to improve operations of the storage. That's steadily coming. I mean, there's a steadily continuation of development. It's not like you're sitting there stale, and there are a lot of good functionalities that are in the pipe for the 2021 that are going to be released around the storage space because of a continued development. I mean, clearly, yes, for you as a customer, yeah, I create a VHD and that's on premium storage, I attach it. It seems that that's a stale thing in a sense, but it's not. I mean, underneath, we are steadily improving things. We are steadily working on performance to reduce latency. So there's a constant stream of functionality that you might or might not see, that might not be exposed. It's not that we say, hey, look, we created that storage now it's all done. Let's lean back and think about what do we do next. No, that's not the case. That's like VMs, where you steadily get new functionalities, you get new VM families, you get the next version of a VM family, because we are able to to go into innovation cycles that you as a customer can't afford with your infrastructure, and we can build on these new innovations in hardware. We can immediately leverage those and expose it to customers in the form of better price performance ratios, in the form of new functionalities that the customer has problems adapting with on the on-premise side. So that's the big advantage, and this continuous development, this continuous innovation that we can provide.
I think that's exactly the point. I mean, typically customers see when we release a big MV2 or something like that. So when there are huge changes, but you don't see all these small continuous improvements that happen all the time. And some of them are maybe a little more prominent, but a lot of them are just happening behind the scene. And I, as a customer running my SAP system on Azure, I just benefit from it ideally without even needing to do anything for this.
Exactly. These are then improvements in availability, reliability, but as mentioned as well, in latency improvements that are rolled out. All these kinds of things, smaller things that you simply get with be running on Azure, with having your SAP landscape on Azure. So really super interesting and really a huge difference to what you used from an on-premise environment. That's also the exciting thing for 2021. As mentioned, we have things in the pipeline where we know already that this will have a positive impact on SAP workload on Azure, latency-wise, reliability-wise, price performance-wise, TCO-wise. So that's the exciting thing. That's really exciting. And you as a customer being able to adapt very, very, very fast to it. Either don't need to adapt at all because it just comes under the hood, or then having the possibility in saying, oh, there's this new version of this VM family. Oh, wow, look at that, 35% better price performance ratio. So let's work on it. Yeah.
So how you think that I mean, most of the customers, when they are going into cloud, they are going slowly. SAP customer is big projects, and of course they are living that journey through to hybrid scenarios, and we are heavily investing in hybrid scenarios. Azure Arc is just one example. So how you think that Azure Arc stories or that direction will reflect to our SAP journey together with our customers?
Okay. I mean, besides, it will have a positive effect in the sense that from an administration, you can way faster from an administration, from a monitoring point of view, from a management point of view, can get a unified tool, single pane of glass for it. Whereas so far in the hybrid space, you had to work you basically work with very often with two tool sets. So you try to adapt the on-premise tool set to the cloud. And now with Arc, you really can separate that whole management operation, the tool set of management operations a little bit, and move it way faster into the cloud. Then you are able to move your instances into the cloud, and so you get way faster to that single pane of glass. So that certainly is an advantage that we are seeing with Arc, and that's a very interesting aspect as well in easing up in getting hindrance and getting blockers out of the way and making it easier and smoother to move into Azure. No doubt about it. Move into Azure in general, but also with your SAP. So we definitely see an advantage there. And the other thing as mentioned is you from a tooling point of view, it is way faster and you don't live in dual worlds for a while, so you can focus on one tool set.
I think this is a new way of integration we are talking. We always, when you refer integration, we are thinking office and all those business processes stuff. But now we are starting very new way of integrations on the infrastructure level for on-premise, what we learned on-premise, and now trying to combine that with new.
Exactly.
Cool. Do we have a minutes of time, or shall we finish 1 minute time or not?
Let's wrap it up.
Let's wrap it up. Yeah.
And maybe next year, Jürgen, we can have you again, and we can look back and see what happened with Azure Arc.
Yeah,
and what happened
exactly. We can look at that. Yep, absolutely.
No, so thank you very much. I think that was a perfect closing for this year. So this is the last episode of this year. We'll continue in January in 2021. Thank you very much, Jürgen, for
inviting me. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
It was a pleasure.
Thanks. So we have a New Year present for the outside customer. Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay.
Good.
Thanks a lot, guys.
Thank you, everyone.
Happy holiday season. Stay safe. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.